The reason that we haven't got slides is because this week I've been up to Manchester for a networking day with the other diocesan safeguarding officers in the national team, and we wanted to give sort of feedback immediately from that. And we've also had a diocesan safeguarding advisory panel meeting this week, so again it's very much, you know, what are the latest headlines. So as I've started, probably I don't know how many reports recently about, well, we still haven't got the unique report back. At the DSO day, Jim Gamble, who is the lead reviewer for unique, the company that did the audit, started his input by apologising to all the dioceses that hadn't received their report. He talked about and openly acknowledged the mistakes that they've made by not understanding the complexities not only of the Church of England but of some of the dioceses. So when they went to London and when they went to the NST, they thought it would just be the usual, let's do it in a week or two and it'd be fine. He then realised that London was equivalent to at least 4, if not more, dioceses, so that's put them on the back foot. I also spoke to the person who is trying to manage, and I say that, no disrespect to her, but having met Jim Galloway on several occasions, I understand why she said, yeah, I'm trying to manage the contract. In that she said that they've actually taken on some new reviewers, which means that they can be getting on with the reports and still doing the work that they're commissioned to do. I raised my concern that we're 5-6 months on, will they remember what they spoke to St Edmunds and Ipswich Diocese about? Will that verbal feedback that we got on that Friday morning of that week when we were all interviewed, will they actually remember that? And she reassured me that what actually happens is that they take the headlines, they do a template, it's already there. Where they're at is actually then formatting and getting quality assured. So the key points that we've heard, there shouldn't be anything that they've forgotten or anything that we weren't expecting included in our report. So Jim said, and I cornered him just before he left, and he's quite a tall chap, so it took some doing. And I said, I heard April, Jim, and he said, oh, did I say that? So let's just watch this space, and hopefully next time I'm with Synod, I'll be able to say we've had a draft report, we're now working forward. But it just seems that everybody in this room who contributed, who worked hard, who got their parishes to do the surveys, you know, it's a heartfelt thanks, and it just seems to have been lost. And really, you know, we are pushing and trying to get that. So that's where we are with the report. In terms of staffing, I think every time I stand here, I keep saying, well, we're having a change of staff. Recently, I think it was 5 months into post, second trainer have decided that the role wasn't for him, and that's fine. If it's not the role that you're comfortable with, if you're not happy, then it's you know, it's not worth just doing it for the sake of it. So Glenn left us, and the reason that it's not in the report is that I'd written the report, and then because he was still in his probationary period and only had to give a 2 weeks notice, then meant that he went really quickly. As an interim, we have got somebody, we're going through a safe recruitment, the DBS is through, she's working, doing training in another diocese as a volunteer trainer there. She also has, she's an assistant priest elsewhere as well. She's living here in our diocese, so she will be able to help us for the foreseeable future until we recruit it. The advert for the post is out, the closing date is tomorrow, I'm shortlisting next week, and hopefully we'll be, when I say hopefully, we will be interviewing at the end of the month, but hopefully we will have a candidate who will, you know, be happy with what the role is. What I will say is that I've had several inquiries, probably more than I've had previously. Some are not going to come to fruition because of practical reasons, but 1 or 2 have said, oh, I think I will still go ahead and put in the application. So if nothing else, we're going to have some applications, which I'll be able to look at during the week. Because of that, obviously that's impacted on the ability to deliver training. People will be looking on Insight and will say that, well, it only goes up to March. We've had to do that because the dates that we had scheduled, we're now having to look at when the interim trainer is available, and then obviously when we appoint a new trainer. We'd hope to sort of, we had this vision, I think would be our word, in January, that we would try and sort of advertise the training in term term times, if you like, up until Easter, and then, you know, just before Easter up until the summer, and then, because we've learned over the years, when there are quiet times, when people are away, when they're not going to engage in training because of other things, so we've looked at all those things. What I will say is that between January and Thursday, when we were looking at the stats, there have been 7 courses for leadership advertised, which meant there was a total of 112 places available, but only 67 places were taken. So we have quite some gaps. So when people are saying, well, there's no training, we can't get on the training, it is out there. It's about looking at insight and signing up. It's a reminder as well that leadership can take up to 13 weeks to complete, given, you know, the pre-work, the 2 courses, and the time for reflection afterwards. So it's not as in the old days where you just turn up for one day and then it's done and you're back in business. And we are looking at some of the statistics and some of the data around, you know, the training and whose training is running out. On the back of that, we have some assistance. We've got a temp in that Gary and the team have agreed, who will be doing some clergy HR work, but also is helping admin in the safeguarding team to just literally input the data, because one of the things that you won't know behind the scenes is that our systems don't talk to each other. So the difficulty is that we have to do everything manually, and it's about reprioritising. So I had a message from Alison Bailey, who most of you will have heard of through your DPSs, is today to say that she'd managed to do 468 checks against CMS and some of the other data. So we have huge numbers. This isn't to, you know, get the violins out, what a shame. It's just to let you know that this is the reality and that we are doing our best to catch up with things. It's just with the audit and the changing staffing, because each time we get a new member of staff we have to train. It's just put us on the back foot. So please bear with us, and I know it's not acceptable for you to wait for months when you've, you know, joined the courses, but I can only apologise and say this is the reality of where we are. But hopefully once we get that data up to speed, that will help us to keeping it at that level really. I talked about the interim. I think the other bit I just wanted to mention was around people with PTO. So I know that other dioceses for a while have been running the National Permission to Officiate course. We had decided, or the DSAP had decided a few years ago not to do that because the course was at that point wasn't dissimilar to leadership, and due to capacity and due to the difficulties of trying to identify who would do a PTO only course, we stuck with doing leadership for everybody. The materials have changed, so we are now introducing that, and we've been talking to DSAP around that, and they've agreed that we should go ahead. But what it actually means is to look at all the people with permission to officiate and make a decision about whether or not they meet the criteria. So yes, you've got PTO, but there are some PTOs who do an awful lot. So they do equivalent to members of clergy, who are sitting here today. There are some people who maybe do one service, you know, every 3 months, 6 months, they might do a few, and they might do a and we have to unpick what the criteria is that the national team is saying has to be the sort of baseline, if you like. And we're doing that with the archdeacons. They've all received this, that they're helping us to look through, and we will be looking to some of the supporting clergy to say, is this exactly what people are doing? Just so that we're not overtraining people or making them do those courses where they've still got those skills, they've still got those abilities, but sitting through a very long course is maybe a step too far after all the years that they've given to the church. So we are looking at that, so we are trying to get that sorted. And one last thing, if I can, sorry, if I could switch to is just to say that some of you will have read about some findings that the Charity Commission, or some rulings I should say, around Liverpool and Chelmsford, and around what trustees should know about safeguarding and about reporting, and they've noted that we're under-reporting not just in this diocese but in the Church of England. Some work is being done with Kevin Wilson, Dos Registrar, Gary and I've had a meeting, and we will be looking at a briefing that we'll be sending out to support PCCs about how we take this forward in our diocese.